I'm so excited today to be with what I believe is one of the young great leaders in America right now, and we've spent some time together, and I've already learned so much from you, and so it's
That's
great to have
crazy.
Manny Arango on the show. Come on,
It's an honor to be with you.
Unscripted.
It's an honor to be with you.
I haven't told you
There's
anything.
no chance you've learned anything from me. That's crazy.
I have learned more from you already.
That says more about you than it says about me.
We were just in Italy together.
We were.
Buongiorno.
It
Grazie,
was great.
grazie.
I got some new shoes out of the deal.
You got
it was
shoes,
great.
you had good pasta.
I had no pasta because I'm doing carnivore.
Oh yeah, you were doing.
So I was just looking at pasta all day.
Every time I turned around, you were ordering a fillet.
Yeah. I mean, carnivore, baby. Somebody's got to do it.
Well, you look great.
It's got to be somebody's cross to bear.
Man, thanks so much for being with me today.
It's an honor.
You're in town for ARC training, ARC assessment. Going to plant a church?
Yeah, super excited to plant through ARC, and yeah, I'm pumped. Stepping into a brand new season. Been on the road for a long time. Been leading Arma for a long time, and now I get to step into a season of church planting.
It's been great to have you and your wife these 2 days.
She's the better Arango.
Yeah, I could tell that. We already picked up on that. And but we were together in Italy with Make Room, John and Leslie Seedling, who you love dearly.
Oh yeah,
you've been a part of kind of their world. With you were in Africa with them.
Yeah.
And then
we did Make Room in Johannesburg.
Yeah.
We did Make Room in Florence.
Yeah.
And then next week we go to Santiago, Chile.
That's right.
To do Make Room South America.
Yeah.
I've been with them in Memphis a lot.
Yeah.
I'm doing their youth conference again for I think the third time this
right.
summer. I've been with them a ton.
When I heard you in Make Room, we did in Memphis in January.
In Memphis, yeah.
You preached a great message, and I loved how you talked to me. You said, "I haven't planted a church yet, but here's what I think about it.
Yeah.
Here's what I'm, suspect of what it's going to be like."
Yeah.
You told that amazing story about you and your son on the Lego box.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And about how you wish God would give you everything put together.
Yeah.
But He gives it to you in pieces.
Yeah.
And tell me about that.
Yeah, so we take my son to Legoland.
Yeah. And your son's name is?
My son's name is Theophilus.
Yes.
We gave him the nerdiest, longest Bible name we could find.
That's a good one.
We call him Theo for short. And so we're at Legoland, and to bribe him to leave, all right, little man does not want to leave.
No way.
To bribe him to leave, we're like, hey, we'll buy you some Legos. Okay, we got to go to the gift shop, buy some Legos. Well, of course, I can read. My wife can read. He cannot read. Okay. All he sees is pictures.
Yeah.
So he sees a picture of a car on a Lego box. Now, I am able to read that the thing says, for kids ages 8 and over. Okay. My son's not even 4 yet.
Yeah.
So I know, ain't no way he's putting this thing together. As my goal is that he doesn't choke on a piece. Okay. That's my goal. So he sees the picture, and we buy it because of the picture.
Wow.
We're sold, or he's sold on the picture.
On the picture.
He doesn't realize that there's assembly required.
Wow.
To the car that he sees displayed on the picture. We get back to the hotel, and as soon as we did the jingle, 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 and poured them pieces out of that box, that boy immediately asked to watch Paw Patrol. He was like,
done.
Forget about this. I want to watch Paw Patrol. He's like, can we watch Paw Patrol? He's completely uninterested. And as soon as he lost interest, it's almost like the Holy Spirit said to me, see, it takes maturity to be a builder.
Wow.
The immature person wants a car to come out of the box.
Yeah.
But the mature person knows the picture doesn't always match the pieces.
Yeah.
That God shows you a picture.
Yeah.
And come on, none of us have gotten in anything because we were attracted to pieces. We got into it because we got sold on the picture that God showed us.
Gosh, that's
a picture of, success, or a picture of lives changed, or a picture of, whatever the fruitfulness looks like.
Yeah.
But in my ministry journey, it doesn't matter what the picture has been. Then you get into the weeds and you realize, oh my gosh, all I got is pieces.
Yeah.
And, there's oftentimes a whiplash or a frustration when you realize that there's a disconnect between the pieces I'm holding in the picture. But with parents in a picture, you can always turn the pieces.
I love how
into the
you
picture.
said you can't buy a church.
You can't buy a church.
I mean,
you're just buying pieces.
Yeah, you're buying pieces.
You're buying pieces.
You're recruiting pieces.
Yeah.
And with planting a church, and the name of the church is
The Garden. We're planting a church called the Garden.
The Garden. I love that.
Yeah.
Which and you're going to be in the Houston area.
We're in the Houston area. I'm so excited.
And you and I've talked about great churches in Houston.
Yeah.
Which is fantastic. You met some of those great pastors.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And Scott Jones is a good friend
What
of
a
ours.
legend.
And but I always say, thank God for all the great churches, but we're going to come alongside of those to do our part.
Absolutely.
And I think that's the heartbeat of any church planter, anybody who's going into a community. Man, we have a part to play. We have a role.
Yeah.
And we want to come alongside of what God's done all these years in Houston, stand on the shoulders of some guys who've been some great, generals of the faith.
Oh my gosh,
And what I love about you is you came from a line of honor once you came to Christ and got in the church.
Oh my gosh.
We talked about that in Italy.
Yeah.
Some of your spiritual fathers, some of your spiritual uncles.
Yeah.
Even now, some of the people that are in your life, you get honor in a healthy way, not the weird, crazy way, but the healthy way. Tell me a little bit about that, your own journey.
First of all, I grew up at a dope church, okay?
Yeah.
Every time people talk about church hurt, I can empathize, but sometimes I can't really sympathize because I'm like, I didn't have like a crazy church story. I grew up in such a healthy, incredible church, but I did grow up with a strong leader, like Bishop Thompson, the senior pastor, founding pastor of what was then New Covenant Christian Church, what is now Jubilee Christian Church. And it's funny, one Wednesday, right? All the young guys, we got to preach on Wednesday night Bible study. And so everybody, we all got turns.
Yeah.
And Bishop would do preaching practice with us. So we'd all come to the church on like a Saturday morning, and we'd have to do a 7-minute sermon. And he'd have the media team there. And
it's harder than 30 minutes.
Oh, he was like, if you can't do 7, you can't do 15. If you can't do 15. So you moved from a 7-minute sermon and practice with him to a 15-minute sermon and practice with him. Then you got promoted to early morning prayer. Okay?
Wow.
So early morning prayer was 5 a.m. to 6 a.m., 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. Okay? So you'd pray from 5 a.m. to 5:45. Then at 5:45, you'd get to give it encouraging words to the saints as you dismissed them so they could go to work. And then prayer would start again at 6. Prayer would go from 6 to 6:45. At 6:45, you'd get up and you'd give an encouraging word, okay, to the saints as they headed off to work. So,
and did you tell me that was how many times a week?
Every day. What? How many times a week?
But it was only 21 days in the year, right? It was just 21 days in January.
No, every day. Except Saturday and Sunday.
Like July.
So Saturday,
March.
Morning prayers, 8 a.m. Okay? So we got to sleep in on Saturday. And then Sunday, you're there early because the first service at 8 o'clock in the morning.
100%.
And you got to pray before you get the first service. So I grew up at just, regimented. So, but if you did a 7-minute sermon, so you're in a room that seats 1,000 people, and the only people in the room is Bishop Thompson sitting on the front row with maybe 7 or 8 of your buddies in the media team. And you better preach your guts out. If Bishop gets a whiff that you are not taking this seriously, or you're acting like it's practice, you're out. You're gone. So me and Brian Bullock, okay, are in preaching practice together.
We love Brian.
Me and Brian are in preaching practice together. And I get up, and I preach, and Bishop's like, that's pretty good. And Brian gets up, okay? And Brian he manages to sing, roll around, okay?
Do an illustration.
Oh, yeah, in 7 minutes. Okay, so Brian has managed to change suit jackets in 7 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, so Bishop Thompson gets up and he's like, no, I'm not grading anybody. However, if there were grades, that'd be an A+. Okay, so Brian gets an A+. None of us got grades, but Brian got an A+.
You hear what your grade was.
Oh yeah. So if you could do, and okay, everyone who grew up in the church before me would always say, "Oh, you guys got it easy," because Bishop Thompson used to make them do street preaching. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So staying on a milk crate, there was an elevated train that came through Roxbury. there's an elevated train that came through kind of the hood of the inner city of Boston, okay? So, and people would come off the train, and then they'd have to wait there for like 10 minutes before the next train came. And so Bishop Thompson make you stand on a milk crate, bullhorn, and preach, open air preach to people waiting for the train. And so when we told them, oh, it's so hard, you know, we got preacher practice in an empty sanctuary with Bishop, they'd be like, so it's inside?
Go up on the elevated train
right.
track.
If there's no, but so I think back in like the 80s, they tore down the elevated train, they created the subway. And so there was no more, so Bishop had to move it inside, okay?
Come on, bring it back again.
So if you could do a 7-minute sermon at preacher practice, and then you could do 15 minutes, he would let you do early morning prayer, okay? He would let you do early morning prayer.
Yeah.
So then, if you did early morning prayer well, you get your shot at a Wednesday night Bible study.
Wow.
Okay, so Wednesday night Bible study rolls around, and I'm preaching, and I said 1 Corinthians instead of 2 Corinthians. Okay, I'm preaching, and I'm just quoting the Bible, and I made a mistake. I said 1 Corinthians instead of 2 Corinthians. Bishop stands up, front row. Bishop Thompson, wait, Brother Manny, wait. Okay, he now turns to the congregation. He's like, hey, what Brother Manny meant to say was 2 Corinthians, not first. So if you're taking notes, I'd be remiss if I didn't tell you that it's 2 Corinthians.
Yeah.
Okay, now he turns back around and he goes, okay, come on, son. Preach.
Yeah.
Preach.
Yeah.
And then he tells the crowd, ain't he doing good? Come on, ain't he doing good? Come on, give it up for Pastor Man. Come on. And then I start preaching, okay? So I finished preaching. You better not act like, you know, you're bothered.
Yeah.
You better not skip a beat. You just keep on preaching.
Yeah.
And so afterwards, Chris Sumner, who was the executive pastor at the time, comes over to me. You know, I'm done preaching. We've dismissed for the night. It's probably like, I don't know, 7:30, 8 o'clock at night. And Chris Sumner comes over to me and he says, hey, you know, Bishop is about to leave on his Harley, because Bishop rode a Harley in the church every week. Okay, he had armor bearers following him in a car on his Harley.
Yeah.
Okay, so they'd go to his house to pick him up. And he would jump on his Harley.
Yeah.
And so he said, "Hey, Bishop's about to jump on his bike and go home. Did you go to his office and say thank you? Thanks for correction." He said, "Because correction's love." And I was like, "No, I didn't think to say thank you to the man who interrupted me while I was preaching."
Yeah.
And he went, no. You fathers, that's how fathers love. You gotta go say thanks. So I mean, I went to his office. I'm like, Bishop, first of all, just thanks. You know, thanks for being there while I was preaching. Thanks for correcting me. Thanks for letting the room know it was 2 Corinthians instead of 1. And I remember Bishop sat back down, and I got a whole hour with him because of honor. Yeah. So honor unlocks a door. And I think sometimes we don't like to honor. I think dads teach honor. You know what I mean? I think dads have a particular preference. They have stuff that they're trying to instill in you. And there's a test almost of offense. Are you going to be offended?
100%.
Or are you going to appreciate that someone loves you enough?
Yeah.
And I remember I had dreads down the middle of my back, right? And
I like to see a Manny with dreads.
There's a picture somewhere.
It's out there somewhere.
On Facebook, probably not on Instagram, but on Facebook. And I remember I'm in a staff meeting, and I remember like, man, I've never preached on a Sunday morning, and probably Chris Sumner was like, well, you know, you probably need to cut your hair. And I said, you think? And he was like, yeah. I said, ask Bishop. And I said, Bishop, what do you think about long hair? And he goes, for men or women, son?
Oh, that's the answer.
And he goes, you know, I just don't think you should put any stumbling block between you and a listener. He said, if it would be all things to all men. I got my hair cut that day.
Yeah.
And I remember I came to the next staff meeting, and Bishop just stood up like, you got saved, son. You've been in my church all these years. You finally got saved. And I think sometimes we have a problem honoring when it's based on a person's preferences, but any good dad has preferences,
without a doubt.
And dads have a certain way that they want their family to look.
Yeah.
And I learned that, man, honor isn't just about honoring God. I can't say I honor God if I can't honor some leaders that God's putting on the, you know, because it's really not about the hair.
Yeah.
If I make hair more important than it needs to be, then I'll defend it.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, anything you can't put on the altar is an idol. And so I learned I learned that, man, there's a way to honor the father of the house, and part of that is, man, I honor your preferences.
Yeah. You know, one of the things you said was the test of honor,
Mm-hmm.
which I think that's huge. Robert Berenger wrote a book, you know, he's down in Peru, got a
Mm-hmm.
great church in Peru, about honor. And one of it is about the test of honor.
Absolutely.
And so when we were in Italy, you did a dynamic talk, and I love everything about your theology. I'm learning
thank
from
you.
you. I'm learning from Arma. You're making that available to art guys, which we'll talk about that in a little bit, some of the planters. And you're a doctor,
Yeah.
Manny Arango,
Yeah.
which is important. You like making theology available,
Oh yeah, and accessible.
and which a lot
Put
of
it on
times,
put it on the lowest shelf.
yeah, so often you hear theology and some of those things, and you
Yeah.
just are like, man, there's no way. But you talked about Laban
Yeah.
and how, and Laban was a test. And so if you're going to be in leadership, if you're going to plant a church, if you're going to lead a family, if you're going to be a worship leader, if you're going to want to be a student pastor, anything like that, I mean, there's going to be the Laban factor that happens in your
100%.
life to
100%.
test you, motive, agenda, heart, spirit,
Yep.
the why behind the what.
Yep.
Talk a little bit about that, because that was
Yep.
that was brilliant what you shared.
So Jacob flees. Okay, he bumps into what's gotta be a pretty cute sister. Okay, because he meets Rachel, love at first sight.
That's right.
And he's like,
Rachel.
I'll work 7 years.
I've got them confused before.
Yeah.
Rachel and Leah. Which one's pretty?
Rachel.
Yeah.
Rachel's cute. Okay. Works for 7 years, pledges 7 years of his life for Rachel. And then wedding night, okay, Laban's got a trick up his sleeve, gives the not so cute sister to Jacob instead of the pretty sister. All right. So now he's married to Leah. And I love the Bible, okay? Because the verse opens it, when morning came, there was Leah. That's the verse.
Man.
That's a rough morning. That's a rough day. And so there's a couple of nuggets of just like revelation. When you fast forward to Genesis chapter 49, there's some of this stuff that we skip over. And Jacob's giving instructions to his 12 sons. And he's like, hey, here's where I want you to bury me. Bury me in this field that Abraham bought from this Hittite. Like, bury me right here. Now, when Rachel dies, she gets buried in an unmarked tomb in the middle of nowhere. But when Leah died, she got put in the burial plot with Abraham and Sarah and with Isaac and Rebekah.
Wow.
And so
what a legacy.
he says to his sons, you better bury me with Leah. Now, let's think about this. By the end of Jacob's life, I think he actually realizes Leah's the best thing that's happened to me. Because Rachel is stealing her father's household gods. Rachel is emotionally manipulative. She's a thief. She's an idol worshiper. She's a bit of a liar. Rachel's a lot. She's a handful, but she's cute. Okay. Leah.
She looked good.
Leah, not so attractive, but very fruitful. And man, I've learned that it's the ugliest seasons, the ugliest stuff, the ugliest tests. For me, I remember, there was this real pretty house that I wanted to buy for our first house. I remember my wife's mother came into town, and I remember apologizing to her that we hadn't bought a house yet. And there was this really attractive house that we wanted to buy. But my realtor knew what I could afford and drove me to this ugly house. But man, when I sold that house, I made over $100,000 when I sold that house. Because ugly stuff can be fruitful.
Yeah.
And so when you think about,
God, what a statement! Ugly stuff can be fruitful.
oh my gosh, and there's
hard stuff can be fruitful.
The temptation for a shortcut is the thing that makes you want Rachel, because out of the box, it's ready to go. It's the picture. I don't want pieces. I just want the picture.
Yeah.
Show me this picture. But good leaders know if I roll my hands up, and if I get my hands dirty and I start working on stuff, oh my God, man, we could turn Leah, and we could get Leah cute, but we can't get Rachel fruitful.
Yeah, wow.
And so a lot of times we opt for what looks cute. And for anyone who doesn't have context, Rachel is struggling with barrenness. I'm really sensitive about how I talk about barrenness because me and my wife struggled with infertility for 5 years. And I actually think that the text is telling us that Rachel's not just physically barren, but because of the barrenness of her soul, it's almost like the physical barrenness is just a symptom of some emotional and spiritual barrenness. So let's think about Laban. If it's not for Laban Jacob would never marry Leah. And if it's not for Leah, he'd never have a son named Judah. And if it's not for Judah, we don't get the line of the tribe of Judah. So I can be mad at Laban, or I can go, God's using even the evil desires of a man who wants to marry off his daughter, who he doesn't think is attractive, to bless me so that the Messiah can be born through this woman named Leah. Like Joseph, I could say, man, I'm mad at my brothers, or I could say, what you meant for evil, God's meant it for good. That's Joseph's narrative. Joseph has decided to adopt a narrative that you can't curse me if God's blessed me.
Yeah,
you can't close doors if God's opened doors. Here's the other thing about Laban, which this is actually the piece that I love, is I don't think Jacob is able to see himself until he sees Laban. Because the stories are side by side. So you have a father named Isaac who blesses Jacob instead of Esau. Okay, so a dad and two boys.
Yeah.
Okay, now with Laban, you have a dad and two girls, two daughters. And the blessing is irreversible. And this marriage is irreversible. And in the first story, it's Jacob who does the tricking. And now in the second story, it's Laban who does the tricking.
Yeah.
And I think that for Jacob, he goes, ooh, I finally know how it feels to be my brother. I finally know the pain of being tricked by someone I love.
Yeah.
I know the pain of being tricked by a family member, and that there's no way to undo what's been done.
Right.
The only way to move forward is to take the path forward.
Yeah.
And I think Jacob sees Laban and goes, if I don't change from the inside out, I'm gonna end up like this guy. I'm gonna be old and gray and alone with two daughters who don't like me, who put up with me.
Right.
I'm gonna be lonely. Because you gotta think, if you're wicked enough, like no one's happy in this. Like Rachel's mad, Leah's mad. Imagine how it feels to be a woman and to get married off to someone who you don't know that you love or like or anything, but your dad doesn't even believe that you could ever attract a man. So imagine how Leah and Rachel feel about Laban. And I think for Jacob, he's looking at Laban going, if something doesn't change, this is my future. And he's finally able to get a glimpse of what could be his future.
Right.
And he's also able to look at his past with some proper hindsight and go, oh my gosh, I'm getting a preview of what could be. And this is also what I've done. I need to change. There's things about my life that absolutely need to change, which I think kickstarts him going through a process where he finally does go back and reconcile with Esau.
That's right.
And makes it, and God then uses it to transform him into Israel.
And God used Laban.
And God uses
in that
Laban.
whole process.
Yeah. So at some point, you got to go, all right, I can take this out on Laban. I can be mad at Laban.
Right.
Or I can go, wait a second, maybe Leah is actually the woman that God had for me. Yeah. But I never would have picked her if I was making decisions with my flesh. And maybe Leah's the woman that God wanted to get into my life. And it just so happened that he'll use Laban to get the right thing into my life, even though I didn't want it.
Those are lessons only learned through living. You know what I mean?
My God.
You can't.
Yeah.
Those do not get an automatic download. You have to live in that, live through that.
Yeah.
And I know in one of the courses you have done, and how many courses are there in ARMA?
Yo, the number actually freaks me out. It's crazy. We've got over 60 courses on the platform. Our average course is 90 minutes. Some of the courses are up around 3 hours.
And I love you're making that available to our church planters.
Absolutely.
And that's a great partnership. I appreciate you doing that because we want our church planters to be theologically strong.
Absolutely.
And some of them have not been able to have that type of training. Or have that access. So that's real important for us at ARC. You know, I know that's important for you.
Yeah.
And that's what you're about. That's who you are. God gave you this. And it's just, I think it's making a difference in the body of Christ.
Oh my gosh. It's funny. I was just talking to a church planter today, a guy named Edwin, who was like, dude, I watch your content every day.
Wow.
And he's like, and you know what's crazy, man? I listen to this stuff with my kids. I got an 11-year-old, a 9-year-old, and an 8-year-old. They're in Hampton. They're in Hampton, Virginia.
He's a great church, the Bridge.
Yeah,
great
Bridge.
Church.
And he's like, dude, my kids like your content.
Yeah.
And he's like, dude, seriously, every single day. Because we also release content every day.
Right.
We have a podcast called The Bible Department, and we drop an episode.
The Bible Department?
The Bible Department.
That's
the Bible Department. Name. And we drop an episode at 12:01 a.m. every single day. And I walk people through the entire Bible in a year.
Yeah.
And the reality is that for a lot of church planners, it's like the thing you need is that rebel, that I can go through a brick wall.
Eye of the tiger. I call it Eye of the tiger.
The pioneer, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that person typically ain't the nerd. They're just typically not the person who wants to sit in a classroom and nerd out. But the reality is that, T and I were on staff at a church in North Carolina for 8 years.
Wow.
And through COVID, watched hundreds of young adults deconstruct, start asking questions, and they're getting answers from TikTok and YouTube. And I personally went, man, if I don't start providing some theologically sound answers, we're going to lose a whole generation.
So that was the seed.
Oh my God.
Fault.
Yes. 2020.
Thank God.
If it wasn't for 2020, we would have never started ARMA. So January, let's back up. December 2019, I quit my job, okay? Because we did 70 speaking engagements in 2019.
Yeah. Right.
And so I went, you know what? We should just start itinerant ministry. Let's do it. So January 2020, our first month on the road full time. And man, January, February, and half of March were killing. Balling. It was great. Churches booked us. They were generous. I paid the mortgage. It was great. Halfway through March, Tom Hanks got COVID. And we got 35 cancellations in one weekend.
Tom Hanks got you.
Oh, when Tom got it, we all was like, oh, let's go home. That was the domino. Once Tom Hanks got COVID, Disney shut down, the NBA shut down.
NBA stopped. No March Madness.
Oh, yeah.
God.
And I'm Googling the difference between, what's the difference between forbearance and deferment. I'm freaking out. And we got 35 cancellations. Every conference that had booked us,
of course,
every event, cancel. So we're and so now, perfect storm. I'm supposed to be on the road. I'm bitter that all these speaking engagements got canceled. I'm scared. Okay, I don't know how I'm gonna pay my mortgage. I went from self-employed to unemployed. Yeah. And I remember going to Portland, Oregon to preach for Andrew Damasio. And I remember he let me film one course. I said, hey, man, I'll preach for you on a Sunday. But, dude, the way they were doing online church was just so dope. I was like, dude, if you let me film in a course on the book of Ephesians in your space, I'll preach for you for free. Okay? You don't have to pay me an honorarium. I just need your video crew. I need your cameras. And I'll just give me a full day where I can do a course. So I did Ephesians.
Were you calling it ARMA?
I was calling it ARMA. And the armor of God is found in the book of Ephesians. So I was like, oh, cool. It'd be cool because arma is Latin for armor. And I just felt like, man, Christians don't know how to use the sword of the Spirit.
So that's where it all started. You're thinking through all this.
Yeah, I'm in Portland, Oregon.
Okay, and you're thinking ARMA.
People
need
COVID.
The armor of God.
People need.
Okay, I got
people
you.
need.
Wow.
And so then I come back, and so COVID then turns into George Floyd's murdered.
Yep.
And then it's an election year. So now it's just a perfect storm of, and people are in their house. People just in the house.
Everybody upset.
People just on TikTok.
Yeah.
And
that was the time where I felt like everybody mad.
Everybody's annoyed, mad,
bothered,
anxious, depressed, not in church, lonely, isolated, no community, and scrolling. So if I got questions about homosexuality, well, now I got people on TikTok giving me answers. If I got questions about hell, I got people on TikTok giving me answers. And so I remember coming home from Portland, Oregon, and I asked my wife, like the biggest ask of our marriage. I was like, babe, can I have the garage? I was like, I know you love.
I need the
and
garage.
So she said, when I bring the groceries in, man.
It's my spot.
Yeah, this is my spot. I said, babe, I promise you.
And you're in North Carolina.
I'm in North Carolina.
And you're serving at a church, or you're based out of a church?
No, we had just quit. We quit. I've been on staff there for 7 years.
You were there. That's right. And so now you're
December
like,
2019.
Hey, it's time for me to go. You're going to go
on
the road full
time.
time. Yeah.
Okay. So now it's maybe April.
Yeah. Wow.
No speaking engagements.
Yeah.
I don't get back on the road till August.
Right.
So April, May, June, July. I mean, months of just no income. I come back from Portland. Andrew brings me in to do online church for him. I film a course and I come back home. And I was like, baby, if you give me the garage, I promise, if you give me the garage, I'll bust my behind and we'll launch this thing called Arma. I don't ever want to charge people what's unaffordable. So we'll charge people $13 a month. And then I jumped into a doctoral program.
Hey, thanks for tuning into this episode of Unscripted. We'd like to take a moment to thank Simplicity Group for making this episode possible. Simplicity Group is dedicated to helping ministers and churches navigate the unique and often complex financial challenges that we all face. From managing housing allowance to navigating tax law, retirement planning, they provide tailored guidance to help ensure financial security for those dedicated to lifting up others, inspiring and serving your community. They understand the unique needs of pastors, religious organizations, and have a unique experience and knowledge in helping them build a stronger financial future. Be sure to check them out at artchurches.com/partners to learn more and explore the value of resources that they've created for the ARC family.
So you were not in a doctoral program?
No, I saw it. That's why it was a 4-year program.
You just had your BA.
I had my master's degree.
Oh, you had your master's.
I had my master's degree.
Where'd you get your master's from?
At Southeastern University.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. So, but I'd always been a nerd.
Where'd you get your undergrad? Like
Gordon College.
So you went to Gordon College for why you
for biblical and theological studies.
Okay, I got you.
So I'd always been a nerd. So I'm like, baby, if you give me the garage, I promise I'll make this thing work. And so she gave me the garage. We turned the garage into a full studio. Into a 1-car garage.
Yeah.
We got 3 cameras in there.
Yeah, you can get a lot done in small. This is a small space.
We got lights in there.
Yeah.
We got a whole. So if anybody watches those early courses, we've almost replaced most of them because I mean it grew. And what I didn't know is that what I realized, I was just trying to answer some questions for the young adults at our church. I was literally thinking about. I had names of people at our church who had been serving with us in youth ministry.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they'd gone off the deep end.
Yeah.
6-8 weeks of not being in church, plus TikTok, plus
hurt, trauma, deconstruction, just
a tumultuous year. And they're all the way off the deep end. And I'm like, we discipled these people. And then I realized, man, we got them assimilated to our church's culture.
Sure.
But we didn't teach them the Bible.
Yeah.
We didn't give them
and
a foundation.
And they probably had not become self-feeders.
No.
I think that's important, Manny. Learning how to be a self-feeder.
100%.
Where you can feed on Arma.
Yeah.
Where you can dial into these things.
And like, okay, I want you to be a self-feeder, but God dang, did we give you a fork? Did we give you a spoon?
Yeah.
Did we give you a bowl?
Yeah.
You know, so we launched Arma, and my goal was this: if we could get 100 people to bill annually instead of monthly, it would give us enough startup costs to buy lights and to buy cameras.
Right.
And we got 100 people to bill annually. We took that money, we upfitted the garage, and next thing you know, we were celebrating 1,000 subscribers, 2,000 subscribers, 3,000 subscribers, 4,000 subscribers, 5,000 subscribers, all paying $13 a month to access seminary level courses, but made simple.
Yeah.
It's like,
and at that point, there were, working jobs, taking care of their family. You've got people from every walk of life you could imagine, all around the world.
We realized, okay, 65% of our subscribers are pastors. So we got youth pastors. So then we once we realized we actually had something on our hands.
God breathed on it.
I went, okay, what are the stuff that senior pastors want their youth pastors to know? So then we did a course on homosexuality, grew like crazy.
Wow.
Did a course on transgenderism, grew like crazy.
Yeah.
And in all the courses, I'd always say, hey, tackling homosexuality is very hard if you don't know the Bible.
Gosh, that's good.
But it's not that hard if you actually know the scriptures. Hey, transgenderism may sound like a crazy big topic.
If you approach it from your opinion, you're in trouble.
And then you'll be trying to figure out the newest issue. But at the end of the day, there's only one real issue, and that's people don't know the Bible. They don't have a biblical worldview. But if I have a biblical worldview,
that's everything.
I'll come to some conclusions about all kinds of stuff. So our big thing has always been, I'm not trying to teach you what to think. I'm trying to teach people how to think. And that's real learning. Yeah. If I teach you what to think, I'm just telling you the answers for the test. And now all you have to do is memorize the answer for the test and give the answer.
Yeah, and there's no transformation.
Yeah,
no
but
change.
If I teach you how do we do proper exegesis? What is hermeneutics? Like for the layperson. So yeah, the average person on our platform is the 45-year-old dude who lives in the middle of Tennessee and serves in the parking lot, but man, does his devotions with his son. One of my favorite subscribers is a guy named Chris. His wife's name's Jasmine. Their son is Xavier. Xavier became a subscriber to our platform when he was 5 years old. Okay. Every morning, Chris would wake up and do Arma. And his son saw him doing Arma. And one day his son was like, can I get my own subscription? I'm tired of watching with dad. And Jasmine, the wife, took a picture for me of Xavier at Starbucks going through our John course. That boy has studied the book of John chapter by chapter with us. And to me, I'm like, if we prepare him, we won't have to repair him. Here we go. Here's a little boy. Here's a boy named Xavier, 5 years old.
That's powerful.
And getting a biblical foundation. And you know what I've realized? I've even realized this as a youth pastor, that the stuff that the generation before me could wait till high school to deal with, I had to address it with middle school students.
Yeah.
And the questions just get younger and younger and younger.
You're right.
And that they're exposed to a lot of information, but not wisdom.
Yeah.
And I used to tell parents this, and I always tell people this when it comes to Arma, that whoever exposes you to an idea becomes the expert on that thing. So let's say you expose me to church planting. Okay, now Pastor Dino automatically becomes the expert when it comes to church planting. That's what happened with me. ARC was the first place where church planting as a concept got introduced to me. I was at an ARC conference, and actually, no, you guys did an ARC event at Elevation Church, and Jimmy Rollins spoke.
Yes.
And I drove from Raleigh to Charlotte.
Yeah.
This was probably 2016, 2015.
Yeah, with a little partnership with Larry Bray.
Yeah.
And all the guys at Elevation. And J-Roll I call him J-Roll.
And I literally I just drove down. I drove down, and ARC was the first group to expose me to the idea of a launch party, a process to launch a church. Yeah. Okay. So you became the expert because you introduced the idea to me.
Right.
I used to tell parents this all the time. If a middle school boy introduces sex to your daughter, that middle school boy becomes the expert. And you don't want him to be the expert. Okay? Whoever introduces the idea becomes the expert.
That is so good.
So I said, you want to make sure that your kids learn about sex at home, they learn about sex at church. Because whoever becomes the expert, whoever introduces the idea first becomes the expert.
Yeah.
And so I always used to tell people with Arma, hey, don't let concepts like homosexuality or hell or eschatology or any of it, don't let TikTok expose kids to all this Bible stuff first. Because there's a bunch of people out here who don't believe in Jesus, who have a whole lot of stuff to say about the church. They got a whole lot of stuff to say about the Bible.
Come on.
So let's expose people to all this stuff. Oh, there's inconsistencies in the scripture. Oh, there's this. Oh, there's that. Okay, cool. Yeah. I'll expose you to all those ideas, but bring you to a different conclusion.
Right.
My conclusion is going to be, but the Bible can be trusted.
Yeah.
My conclusion is going to be, Jesus is still Lord. Whereas the person on TikTok has an agenda. They're using all these inconsistencies to make you disprove or disbelieve. So I think a lot of times, let's say a church planner doesn't want to go there. They don't want to do the hard topic. They don't want to, for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And I always go, wait. No. if you introduce the idea, then that means you're on the offense. You're not playing defense.
Yeah.
And you are forever the expert when it comes to that idea. So when it came time for me to plant a church, I was like, oh yeah, art. Oh yeah, art. Yeah. So because you introduced the idea, and I don't know what led you guys to do that event in Charlotte, but at the end of the day, you never know who's gonna be at an event.
Right.
And the
I had no idea you were at that event.
Oh my gosh, I was at that event. I was a youth pastor.
Yeah.
Church planting was the farthest thing from my mind.
Right.
But a seed got planted that day, and that's how leadership works.
Yeah.
If you become the first person to talk about something, you become the expert.
I think that's so important now too, you know, because you're traveling, you're in a bunch of churches. I get to travel. You know, we a lot of times I'm somewhere and you preach the week before, and I'm like, oh Lord, well y'all stepping down now, or I'm headed to a conference that you're about to speak at, so I'll be the appetizer. But you know, so we travel and you're in a lot of different churches, and so we see the church. You did a whole course. Is it 6 sessions on the church?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
What do you call them? Sessions, or what do you call
each? Yeah, our courses are broken into 12-minute sessions.
Okay.
So that people can get through.
So the church has 6 of those.
Maybe more.
Maybe more of those.
But yeah, we did a whole course on the church.
Okay.
What's a church?
And because you've got a lot of people on TikTok or writing articles or saying a lot about the church.
Oh,
and
yeah.
We know the church is not perfect. We know the church has problems.
Yeah.
And the church has things that happen that are horrible.
Yep.
And are terrible.
Yep.
But, you know, the church hurt.
Oh,
the deconstruction,
yep.
the church haters,
yep.
the church, the ones who are, you know, the judgers of the church, from people that don't attend church, or people that don't care about the church. So how have you helped this next generation? Because we hear church hurt all the time.
Oh yeah.
So give me something on that you've
learned. Number one, and I don't mean this to belittle anybody's pain. Okay, there 100%. Are people who really have church hurt for real. But we have to draw the line between church harm and church hurt. If church has harmed somebody, okay, we'll take that serious. For real. But hurt's so relative that, you know, my dentist hurts me, but they're not harming me. Okay? Whereas Skittles harm me, but don't hurt. So we have to actually draw a line between, okay, was there harm or was there hurt? If there's hurt, then guess what? We can be healed.
That is a great thought.
Okay, not everything that hurts harms. I could say, oh, Bishop Thompson hurt my feelings, but did he mean harm? No, he didn't. He was trying to make sure that I knew the difference between 1 Corinthians and 2 Corinthians.
Yeah. Every morning, 5 a.m.
Yeah.
Could hurt.
Yeah.
But it didn't harm.
It didn't harm. And your dentist is a great example. That is going to hurt. But it's actually not there to harm you. It's there to bring healing into your life. Second, if you've been church hurt, I want you to just think about this. Were you church hurt or people hurt? Because the reality is that the church didn't hurt you. People hurt you. A person somewhere hurt you. And the reality is that nobody's gym hurt. Nobody's restaurant hurt. And we've all
hurt.
No, you know what I'm saying? Everyone's had bad experiences everywhere. And
sneaker shopping hurt.
Yeah. No one. The church is the only place that people are like, I'm done with that. Just because you had a negative experience at one church, now it's colored every church. Or you had a negative experience at one mega church, so now all mega churches are bad. Or you had a negative experience at one Presbyterian church, so now you don't trust any Presbyterian churches. Come on, that's immature. That's not to illegitimate your pain, but that's just not a mature way to handle it. When I moved to North Carolina, my allergies got bad. I moved from Boston, North Carolina, and North Carolina's got a ton of trees. And, you know, you don't grow up someplace, you're exposed to something different. My allergies are crazy. And me and my wife are just, you know, the more you get around people from North Carolina, the more they'll tell you, oh, you don't know the hack. You know the trick for the allergies? And I'm like, no. They said, go to a farmer's market and get some local honey. If you get local honey, it actually offsets the allergies because all that pollen is in the air. Guess what? Bees were a part of pollinating all of these flowers everywhere. So if you get local honey, it'll actually offset all your allergies. And it's better than Claritin because local honey in North Carolina will help you with allergies in North Carolina.
Yeah.
Local honey in Alabama will help you with allergies in Alabama.
Makes total sense.
Makes total sense. that
you're like a biologist now.
That the source of the hurt is also the source of the healing.
Wow.
So you can't, if you've been church hurt, you can't go get healed at the YMCA. You need church to heal you. If you've been church hurt, you're gonna need to be church healed. So the only thing that can fix that wound,
church healed.
The only thing that can fix that wound is getting plugged in to another local church.
Yeah.
And allowing another local church to provide some salve and to provide some ointment for the pain that another church has caused you. Man, will I say, whoo, at every church I've left, there's been a sting. There's been, I didn't like that. But guess what? The next church, I didn't bring baggage to the next church. I brought a wound to the next church, and I let the next pastor begin to heal. But there are things that got healed in Dallas, but it's wounds that I got in North Carolina. There are wounds that I brought to North Carolina from Boston. And I let my pastor in North Carolina bandage those wounds that I got from Boston. Yeah. Because if I've been church hurt, then I need to be church healed. Yeah. The other thing is that church is a non-negotiable. It's an absolute non-negotiable. The two metaphors that we have in the Bible for the church is body and bride. So I always tell people they don't have a deconstruction problem. They have a detachment problem because they want the head without the body. Yeah. They want the groom without the bride.
You hear it constantly.
And it doesn't work that way. Your issue is not the level of complicated questions you're asking. It's that you're asking them outside of a covenant community called church. And if you were to ask the hardest question you could find, you would realize that there are minds and theologians and writers and church fathers and church mothers who have wrestled with this. You're not the first person to wrestle with what happened. You're telling me a loving God sends people to hell. You're not the first person to ask that. Why do good things happen? You're not the first person to ask that. So bride, if you said to me, Pastor Manny, I love you, you're awesome. If someone said to you, Pastor Dino, love you, but man, Pastor DeLynn, don't really like her. Yeah. Or Tia, don't really like her. I'd say, well, she's kind of a non-negotiable part of the package. You don't get me without her. Yeah. I think there's a lot of people who think they can have Jesus without the bride. And it just doesn't work that way. Right. If me being evil know how to give good gifts, how much more of a good parent is God? Okay, well, the same works for being a husband. And church is a non-negotiable. It's not a negotiable item. I'll give you two quotes from church fathers. And I love telling people these are quotes. Right. Because I didn't say this. Okay, so excuse the language. I did not write this or say this. Right. First quote's Tertullian. And he said, the church may be a whore, but she's still my mother. The church may be a whore, but she's still my mother. Cyprian of Carthage wrote this. No one can have God as their father without the church as their mother. Okay, so if God is a father and Jesus is the groom, the church is the mom. There is no family without church. You cannot do one-on-one relationship with God without church. Even if you look in the Old Testament, God doesn't make covenants with people. He makes covenants through people for the group. So there's only 4 covenants in the Old Testament. Noah, Moses, Abraham, David. Those are 4 covenants in the Old Testament. God makes a covenant with Noah for humanity. He makes a covenant with Abraham for the Jewish people. He makes a covenant with Moses for the nation of Israel. He makes a covenant with David for David's family. The covenant with the person is always designed for the group. And so the new covenant is a covenant that God's made with Jesus. And the only question is, am I going to be inside or outside of the covenant community? That's the only question. Yeah. The question is not, has Jesus saved me? The question is, have I chosen to be a part of the covenant community that God has selected and chosen? So when I think about predestination, I'm not Baptist, so let that cat out of the bag. Yeah. So I don't believe in individual election. I believe that God has elected Jesus, and Jesus has married himself to a bride. And that bride is the church of Jesus Christ. Yeah. And I have to make a decision. Am I going to be a part of that thing called the bride of Christ or not? Because if I'm not a part of that thing that's called the bride, then I can't say I'm saved. It just doesn't work that way. Right. Literally, theologically, it doesn't work that way. Also, we got a whole bunch of people criticizing the church as if they're not part of it. That's the only thing that always freaks me out. Well, Christians this and Christians that. Wait,
Yeah.
That's like me being like, Arango's got a problem. I'm an Arango. Why are you talking about the church? Like you're not a part of it.
Yeah, that's so
I
good.
can't say, man, Arango's got an attitude problem.
Yeah.
I'm an Arango.
Yeah, yeah.
So I've got to talk about Arangos in a certain way
Yeah, that's great.
as an Arango.
Yeah.
And so even if I have a critique about the church, or even if I have things that I think the church needs to get better at, I'm not saying it as an outsider. I'm saying it as an insider. I am a Christian who loves Jesus' church. Man, and I love the church so much that we should probably do this better. And you know what? Because I know how to honor the church, I've gotten a chance to be a voice.
Yeah,
I've gotten a chance to say,
yeah.
hey, we should focus on biblical literacy more. We
Yeah.
should do this more.
It's
I've got invited to
yeah.
the table, not because I've got a bullhorn and I'm protesting outside.
Yeah.
I've gotten a seat at the table
Yeah.
because I've shown honor to some spiritual dads, and they've allowed me to get at the table, which has created so much change. Even just in my even in my little area of influence, I would have never imagined that you would reach out and say, oh my God, church planters need Arma. But I think that there's a spirit of honor
I agree.
that I carry that would even let you go, oh no, we need Manny's voice.
Yeah.
But if I was just protesting and annoying, I'd never
just mad every day.
Just mad. I would never get asked to help. And I think there's a lot of people, hey, you got legitimate things to say. We hear you. You got legitimate stuff to say. You got legitimate concerns.
Yeah.
It's not that you're wrong. You just don't have the right to say what you're saying because you're not saying it the right way. And if you could kind of put some sugar in there, man, put some candy with the medicine, then you would actually get asked to help.
To be a part of that.
To be a part.
Yeah.
But you can't talk about the church like you're not part of it.
Yeah.
And then expect that the church is going to invite you in to help solve problems because we don't need consulting. We need sons and daughters who are part of this thing.
God, that's so good.
To help bring it into its fullness. Okay, can I say one more nerdy thing about church?
Yeah.
A lot of times, and this is theologically just off, so I want to bring some correction. We talk about the church and the kingdom as if they are two different things. Okay, and typically when we talk about the kingdom, we talk about all things we like. Okay, so we talk about the kingdom like, oh, the kingdom of God this and the kingdom of God that. Then we talk about the church, it's all the stuff we're critical about. So the church is this and the church is that, and we got an attitude about the church. Okay, theologically, let's just think about this. The kingdom is already but not yet. So the kingdom's not perfect. The kingdom is not yet what it's going to be. Right. Every time I pray for somebody to get healed, they don't get healed. Why? Because we're living in an age of tension. And Jesus says when he comes back, he's going to bring the fullness of the kingdom to bear. So I'm living in a kingdom that's been inaugurated, but it's not yet perfected. Right. So the kingdom is already, but it's not yet. Well, guess what? The church is already, but not yet. The church is the bride, but it's not been washed perfectly clean yet. Yeah. It's not been presented to Jesus in the second coming, spotless and blameless. So actually, when we think about the kingdom and the church, there's more overlap to these words than I think we realize. And the kingdom is not the stuff that happens outside of the four walls of the church. Right. No, the church.
All the good stuff.
Yeah, we talk. The kingdom's not all the dope stuff happening.
Yeah.
No. The Church of Jesus Christ is on the move. The Church of Jesus Christ does outreach. The Church of Jesus Christ cares about every sector of society. So I think we use church and kingdom. So there's people who think, well, I'm a Christian and I'm part of the kingdom, but I don't go to church. And it's like, no, then you're not in the kingdom. No. Church and kingdom are theologically not as separate as certain people have made it out to be. And I don't get to bypass the church to be a part of this thing called the kingdom.
That's so good.
I don't get to be an ambassador of the kingdom, but I don't like church. That's not.
Yeah, I'm a freelance. I'm a freelance.
Yeah, right.
Here.
No.
No.
And
you see that, when I hear you talk, because you've been great church that you grew up in.
Yeah.
Great church in Raleigh.
Yeah.
You've been connected to a great church in Dallas.
Absolutely.
With Robert, and his wife is
Taylor.
Yeah, we were together with them a couple weeks ago. They're fabulous, and I thank God for them. And then you would think that you were raised and then you love the Bible.
Yeah.
And you're an incredible communicator. You love people. You love the lost. I've seen you around people. We've talked about that. You've shared the story about that. But you would think that you were raised in a monastery.
No.
And that you were raised, but that's not the case.
No.
I mean, you came from some pain.
Oh my gosh.
You came from some heartache.
Oh yeah.
Wasn't an easy path.
No.
Give me a minute on that.
Yeah. So my mom's pregnant at 12 with my older sister. My mom's pregnant again with my older brother at 14. Okay. All of her brothers, 5 of her brothers, which was my uncles, alcoholics. Both of her sisters, which are my aunts, prostitutes. My dad is in prison for 18 years. Immigrates from Cuba to the United States of America. Starts selling drugs.
Dad's Cuban?
My dad's Cuban. And my mom's black.
Okay.
So I'm caramel chocolate swirl.
Yeah.
And so my dad's incarcerated for 18 years. My dad starts selling drugs for his uncle. Gets addicted to crack cocaine. Takes me to a crack house for the first time when I'm 5. No, I didn't grow up in what we would call a Christian home.
In the temple.
No.
That ain't the case.
No. I started
in poverty.
Oh yeah.
You talked
my
about
mom's
that.
been on welfare.
I mean, the poverty.
My mom started tithing off her disability check and her welfare check. So when we talk about tithing in church, I'm always like, that's somebody's welfare check. Like there are people in the church.
That's holy.
That's holy.
100%.
And so when I started going to
you remember being poor?
Oh my, yeah.
I mean, you
know what's funny?
You remember that struggle. We talked about that in Italy, about those early days of the church.
Oh yeah.
And your pastor teaching you about finances, stewardship, integrity.
Oh yeah.
That you were saying you didn't have nothing.
Church was the first place I walked into that was excellent. First place I ever saw an air freshener that plugs into the socket was at Jubilee Christian Church. First place that was orderly and I mean excellent, Jubilee Christian Church.
Yeah.
And the first place, so when I say church is family, that's not a metaphor. Like Uncle Steve is the person who we started spending Thanksgiving and Christmas with. He was a deacon at the church. Uncle Joey taught me how to budget money. Okay, I remember I was a senior in high school, about to go off to college, and Uncle Joey called me into his office. He was like, "Hey, you know how to budget money?" I'm like, "Brother, my dad took me to a crack house when I was 5. No, budget money.
Were you working?
No, I had summer jobs
here and there. Jobs, yes.
And he was like, "Do you know how to budget?" And I was like, "No." And he said, "All right." He grabbed a yellow legal pad and taught me how to. He was like, "You need to log into your online banking. You need to log in to bankofamerica.com every week. You need a budget. You need to figure out how are you going to budget money? How are you going to steward money?" The first person to ever take me to a home that they were purchasing, buying a home, was a pastor at the church. And I think sometimes we misunderstand poverty. Okay, so let's take my aunt. Okay, my Aunt Doris. She's not poor because of the amount of money in her bank account. That's not what makes her poor. What makes her poor is that she doesn't have access to wealth through relationship. So she doesn't know anybody wealthy. She does not know anyone. Let's say there was a dream in her heart. Let's say God actually put her on this earth to start a flower shop. Yeah. Okay. She doesn't even know anyone who she could get capital from. She doesn't know. She's not even exposed.
When you have a relationship at the bank.
So poverty is not just about how much money you have in the bank. It's about your circle of relationships.
That's really good.
Okay? That's what poverty is. It's a mindset that is then enforced by your social circle. And so the moment, this is why church is so amazing. Because church is one of the only environments in the world where rich and poor sit next to each other.
Of course.
It's the only environment in the world where people from socioeconomic backgrounds sit right next to each other. This is the whole book of Philemon. This is Paul writing a letter to a slave owner about a runaway slave and saying, wait, now that you're in Christ, this is now your brother. You know how weird that would have been for Philemon to see Onesimus as a brother? You're asking me to change how I see people? You're saying Onesimus is my brother in Christ? He's property. Okay, so Paul's not protesting slavery. I need us to see this. Okay, Paul's not trying to abolish slavery. He's trying to get the gospel infiltrated into the human heart, because Paul now creates a ticking time bomb. He knows if the human heart changes, slavery will be abolished in and of itself. Slavery cannot exist if two people decide, you're my brother.
Yeah.
So Paul cares more. He's not saying, hey, women are no longer, we have to fight for women's suffrage. That's not what Paul's saying. He's saying men have to love their wives as Christ loves the church. And every Roman is sitting there like, wait, what? That ain't how we do things.
In Romans.
That ain't how we roll.
Yeah.
And Paul is not trying. He knows that if he changes the individual, he'll change society. So Paul is not arguing for social reform. He's arguing for individual transformation. That if the gospel gets you, it'll spread like wildfire. And he was right. By 313 AD, Christianity is the official religion of the Roman Empire, not because Christians protested or voted the right person in office. That's not how Christianity changed the Roman Empire. Christianity changed the Roman Empire one household at a time.
Yeah.
One person going, those Christians, man, they are just they forgive. And man, Tertullian, same dude who said the church may be a whore, but she's my mom. That dude said, the more you kill us, the more we are. The blood of the martyrs is the seed of the church.
Yeah, God, that's
He's
good.
like, kill us if you want to.
Yeah.
But every time you feed us to lions, it's actually proof that we're not dying. We're not living for some figment of our imagination. This stuff's real. And so I became a part of a church. Uncle Joey, Uncle Steve, dude, James Caesar Lopes taught me how to drive. Like, Pastor Carl took me tuxedo shopping for the prom. Men at the church became spiritual uncles, spiritual fathers, taught me how to be a functional husband, taught me how to be a father, taught me how to run a business, taught me how to own real estate, how to buy property. I remember one time hanging out with Pastor Andy and it's raining. And he's like, what are you doing today? I'm like, I ain't doing nothing. He's like, we're going to see houses. And after we did this for a couple of weekends, every time it would rain, he'd be like, let's go see some houses. And after a while, I'd be like, why we always go see houses in the rain? And he owned tons of real estate in the city of Boston. And he'd always say, because any house looks good when the sun is shining. I want to see if the roof is leaky. I want to see if the basement floods. And so brilliant. I grew up at a church where it was normal. Wealth wasn't demonized.
Yeah.
It was, God wants you to be fruitful in every area of your life. And I think a lot of people preach this like Jesus was poor gospel. And I just go, no, because poverty is about your access to wealth. The moment Jesus calls Matthew's a tax collector, which means Matthew's wealthy.
Yeah.
Jesus is no longer poor. First of all, he's not poor because he got gold, frankincense, and myrrh on his first birthday, on David's birth. That's number one. But second, he's Zacchaeus. What are you? Joseph of Arimathea. Wealthy people love being around Jesus. And broke people love being around Jesus.
Right.
People love being around Jesus. And I think a lot of times we preach this like, Jesus is broke. No. Okay, plug for the garden. Okay, this is the name of the church, the garden.
Yeah.
The garden is God's original design for humanity. Okay, is the Garden of Eden a place of abundance or a place of lack? Is the garden a place of prosperity or a place of poverty?
Yeah.
Okay, the garden is a place of prosperity and abundance.
Yeah, it flourishes.
It's a place of flourishing. So poverty is not God's original design for humans. And I was a part of a church that took poverty seriously. It was like, we're going to break the stronghold of poverty off of people, which means cross-pollinating them with wealthy people, which means relationship.
Yeah, training.
Yeah. And it
You
also
talked about
means
the training you've
mindsets.
received.
Mindsets.
Yeah.
The only way to undo a poverty mindset is to get you around some people who are entrepreneurs, to get you around some people who are industrious, to get you around some people who have started businesses, man, who can get some of these. I was a poor kid from the hood, but I could intern with any of the business owners at the church, and that's the beauty of church.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of churches where white people and black people can be in the same room, where Hispanic people and Asian people can be in the same room. We get to cross-pollinate.
Right.
People always say, the church needs to be more diverse. The church needs to be more diverse. And I always just want to remind people, the Church of Jesus Christ is the most diverse religious experiment of history. I mean, the first time I went to Thailand, there's a big slogan when you're walking in the airport. It's to be Thai is to be Buddhist. Okay. For all of human history, ethnicity and religion are linked. They're tied together.
Yeah.
When you go to a Muslim country, if you go to Jordan,
to be in India, you're Hindu.
You're Hindu.
Yeah.
You're Hindu.
Yeah. I heard that.
Christianity is the most diverse religious movement on the face of the planet. Period. The Church of Jesus Christ is diverse.
Yeah.
The Church of Jesus Christ is diverse. We are actually, the moment we realize, whoa, we're not trying to be family. No, we are family, so let's act like who we actually are. A lot of times we're trying to attain diversity. We need to be more diverse. No. We are diverse.
Yeah.
The quicker we accept it and just go, oh no, if you compare us to every other religion on the planet, Christianity works in every country, in every nation, in every culture, all around the face of the earth. Because the Church of Jesus Christ is the dopest institution on the face of the planet.
Right.
And I think sometimes in our little American bubble,
100%.
we can forget, oh no, the Church of Jesus Christ is the force that is helping people from different backgrounds actually learn from each other and grow together. And so poverty, we broke a stronghold of poverty with me. I beat poverty in one generation, but that's because I started going to a church that didn't glorify poverty and didn't villainize wealth. I would say most of the disciples were probably wealthy. You get it? Jesus is preaching, okay? 5,000 men, not including women and children. It's a great story in the Bible. The disciples come to him. We gotta send these people away. They're hungry.
Yeah.
People are hungry. You've been preaching. You've been preaching for hours. You've been teaching. You've been preaching. You've been doing Q&A.
Yeah. There's a panel.
Jesus,
I think I saw a panel.
Jesus. We gotta send people away.
Yeah.
They're hungry. Okay. Jesus then don't bring me problems, bring me solutions. Okay. Jesus says so. Feed them. What are you gonna feed them? And then the disciples say, here we go. Should we go into town and buy food? This is what the disciples asked. Should we go into town and buy food? Now, let's just think about this. Now, I've been around a lot of wealthy people in my life. I've been around a lot of poor people. I never heard a poor person ask, should we go into town to buy food for 15,000 people?
Don't put me on the hook for that.
I have never in my life heard someone from a place of lack ask, should we go buy it? And Jesus, what does he want to teach them? Money doesn't solve every problem. So now Jesus performs a miracle to keep them from going into town and buying food. Peter, the only reason that Peter can be with Jesus for 3 years isn't because he's a fisherman. It's because he owns fishing boats.
Right.
So his business is making money for him when he's not present.
Yeah.
Because Peter's wealthy. When you go to Israel, you realize there's only olive trees around here.
Yeah.
There ain't no trees for lumber. So if you're going to get boats, that means you need to import wood from Lebanon, which means you're wealthy. If you got boats, you're a wealthy person.
All right.
Even the parables, 99 coins loses one, that's a wealthy person. 99 sheep, if you got 99 sheep stay, one go away.
Yeah.
If you got 100 sheep, that's a pretty wealthy shepherd.
Yeah.
I don't think we realize when we say stuff like Jesus is broke, that's just a ridiculous statement.
Yeah.
Jesus has a garment on that the Roman soldiers want to divvy up and cast lots for that he's wearing on the cross. That there is no exegetical proof that this man is poor. None. Not a piece. And you can say I'm preaching prosperity gospel, but I promise you, we just exegete the scriptures.
Oh, yeah.
That God wants to destroy systems of poverty. And as someone who comes from poverty, I go, absolutely. I don't know why we are comfortable sending money to Kenya to break the strongholds of poverty. When we talk about poverty in America, it's almost like we are like, no, just give enough to aid people, but not to break systems of poverty. No, we want to break systems of poverty, man.
Yeah.
Poverty creates fear, creates lack. It's not God's design.
You know, Manny, when I talk to you, it's what's interesting is everything that you talk about comes from that biblical love you have. Because everything you refer to is is that time in the Word, what you've learned, what you've studied, what you've meditated, what you've grinded out, what you've dug out of that scripture for that thought, for that story. When you read that parable, you read that gospel encounter. You scroll through that Old Testament, and I think that's what is so needed. When you said a biblical worldview, that changes everything. When you start thinking, hey, how do we see the world through the lens of the Bible? So that's why ARMA is important. That's why I'm excited about you planting the garden in Houston. I mean, what a great environment. How you've traveled and made all these deposits in all these churches. I mean, hundreds and hundreds of churches, and now tens of thousands of people that could learn from those environments. Two things. How do they find out about ARMA?
Oh, easy. ARMAcourses.com.
Okay.
ARMAcourses.com. If you're like, you know what? I want to get into this.
I think so.
Yeah, go to ARMAcourse.com. $13 a month.
And then the church is when
the
is that
garden
launch?
The garden launches January 25th, 2026.
Gosh.
And so we're super excited.
It'll be here in 10 months.
Super soon. TheGarden.church.
And
is
so
that website.
already have a website.
Already got a website. TheGarden.church.
Yeah. And y'all are living in Houston now.
Oh yeah, we moved to Houston like 3 months ago.
Yeah, so you're there.
I wanted to get boots on the ground.
Yeah, and be there with the folks.
Yeah.
And so that's super powerful. So if I encourage everybody, check out ARMA, be a part of it. And then tell me real quick about the book. We got an incredible book. You showed me some of the artwork, which was phenomenal. Give me a minute or two on the book.
I wrote a book. It comes out.
Is this your first book?
No, second.
I thought so.
Yep.
What's your first book was?
Brainwashed.
That's right.
How to take back control of your mind.
Wow.
How to take your thoughts captive.
Yeah.
How to take back control of your mind. It was a fun book. I love Brainwashed. Crushing Chaos is the second book. It comes out in May. I think I did a better job writing the second book. And at the end of the day, we all got some form of chaos in our life. And God's solution to chaos is not peace. When I was in ministry for years, people would have anxiety. I pray for peace. And then I realized God's solution is never peace when it comes to chaos. It's order. And we got a lot of people who want peace, but they don't want God's order. And the moment you begin to embrace God's order, oh man, peace takes care of itself.
Yeah.
And so
comes out in May.
What
is the byline? It's good.
Order your life.
Yeah.
Calm your storms. Find your peace.
That's what I thought.
Order your life. Calm your storms. Find your peace. Crushing chaos.
I've got a great father-in-law who's made a big impact on my life, and he always has. We've been married 36 years. I've known him 38 years. He has a phrase about divine order in your life.
Oh my gosh!
He always brings marriage, parenting, finances, your purpose, your impact. Get divine order in your life. He was a counselor, a coach. Spent a lot of time back in those days in the Baton Rouge inner city schools, in some of those situations where, and he would always talk about how much he referred back to divine order. When you get that lined up, that life tends to be a little better.
Oh, life starts to flow. Life starts to flow. And
you got, just the thought about anxiety when you just said that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the most important word you hear right now.
If you're human,
everything's, I'm stressed, anxiety.
Yeah.
And
anxiety is always, if there's anxiety in someone's life, something's not in order. Something's chaotic. There's something somewhere that's not in alignment. And the moment I stopped preaching peace and started preaching order, anxiety started taking care of itself.
Wow.
Oh yeah, order. Order can be sequence, right? So let's, sex goes after marriage, not before. I can pray for you to have peace all day long, but if you having sex with your boyfriend, that's out of order, and so you're always going to be anxious about this relationship. This relationship is going to create anxiety because things are being done out of order.
Yeah.
Order is rhythm. Work 6 days, rest 1.
Yeah.
Work 6. Work 6, rest 1.
It's like seasons.
Yeah. If you
winter, spring, summer, fall.
If you buck against that
you can't,
rhythm, something's gonna be out of order.
Yeah.
Order's hierarchy. Okay, so there's never been an NFL quarterback to win the Super Bowl from a fatherless home. That's a fact. We may not like that, but that's a fact.
Wow.
Because hierarchy is a part of God's order. It's a good part of God's order. When there's no father in the home, incarceration jumps up like crazy. When there's no dad in the home, anxiety and depression and suicide jump up like crazy. Or when there's an unhealthy father in the home, all that stuff jumps up like crazy.
Yeah, it's good.
Because order. God's order for the church. All these words, pastor, apostle, evangelist, prophet, these aren't man-made terms.
Yeah.
The Bible says to the church, Jesus gave these things, which means this stuff helps to create order. The reason that I would go through ARC is because, of course, I could show up in Houston and just be like, I got a lot of Instagram followers. Let's start a church. But I believe in submitting yourself to an order. Yeah. There's order. And I think we're living in a world where people want to put their trust in something that's got some order to it.
Yeah.
And order creates trust. Order. Yeah. And order doesn't mean that your life's not going to have problems. It just means, you know what? The storms may come, but I didn't build on sand. I built on rock. So even when storms come, I built a life that can sustain storms.
Yeah.
And order. So often we want to calm the storm, but we haven't calmed our soul.
Yeah.
And there's an order to your soul. Your mind's supposed to be at the top of the hierarchy, then your feelings, then your will. If your feelings are more important than your rational mind, we've all been in a relationship with people where that's out of order.
Oh, yeah.
They're led by their feelings. They're impulsive. Being in a relationship with them is like a roller coaster.
Right.
There's an order to your soul. There's an order to families. There's an order to church. There's an order to your finances. God gets the first 10%, not the last 10%, not the middle 10%, the first 10%. I'll never have financial peace if I rebel against God's order when it comes to finances. And so often, it's almost like we think God can bippity boppity boo us out of circumstances.
Right.
And it's like, man, God wants to rescue you, but he also wants to reveal his order to you so that you can adopt it into your life.
Yeah.
And so that your life starts to just produce fruit. Like trees aren't, you never walk by a tree that's straining. You've never walked by a tree that's like, no, man, trees create fruit.
Yeah.
But you can't cut off the root system and think they're going to create fruit.
Yeah.
You can't put them in the wrong environment and think they're going to create fruit. No. But if you get all the things in order, you get fruit.
And so, it's a big year. Book coming out.
Oh, yeah.
And then planting a church.
Planting a church.
And then how long have you been married?
11 years.
11
About
years.
to be 12.
God, that's fantastic. And your son is how old?
He's 4, almost 4.
Yeah.
We'll
make sure we show a picture of the family. You showed a picture in Italy. Your family is looking good.
I got a good looking family.
You do.
It's because of my wife.
Of course it is. Of course it is. Well, man, thanks a lot for spending some time.
Man, thanks for having me. I feel like we could talk forever.
I could go another hour or two because I love how you see the Bible. I love how you see the world. And I love how you see church, which I think is so healthy. And, and being around young leaders like yourself, it gives me so much hope, and I'm excited about the future.
Yeah.
And always, I say this at ARC all the time that, the church that I'm most excited about planning is the next one.
That's real.
And so, you're one of the next ones.
Yeah.
And so we're excited about it, and of course, what God's doing in the world today. There's some cool things happening. You get to travel, you see it. I get to see it. I get to see it here at Church of the Highlands.
Yeah.
And then with ARC. But thanks a lot for being with me today.
Oh, thanks for having me.
At ARC, relationships are everything. We don't just plant churches, we build life-giving communities that transform cities for the glory of God. With ARC, you're never alone in the journey, and we want to provide practical coaching, resources, financial models that are rooted in generosity, help you plant a church, a large launch church to thrive from day one. If you feel called to plant a church, you want to partner with us to plant more ARC churches, we want to help that. So join a network of more than 1,132 church plants, thousands of partners in the ARC family making a real difference. One community at a time, let's plant more churches. So visit arcchurches.com to learn more. Plant with us, partner with us. Together we can reach more people through the message of Jesus Christ. And it takes existing churches to be sending churches to plant new churches. Let's do it together.